Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting ready for Game 2 for Golden Guardians Academy taking on Dignitas QNTM Academy. Dignitas are up 1 in the series. We're going to have to see if Golden Guardians Academy have what it means to bounce back here, Crons.
Yeah, and they showed some new things, some new text for the meta, the Ziggs in the bot lane, but it really felt like Dignitas QNTM got away with two picks that seemed to be making marks in the meta. The Rumble, the Akali, the Lee Sin. I mean, that's three. I can count. But the fact that these guys executed on these so well isn't just because the champions are very strong. They were played phenomenally. That fight at Rift Herald was a really good fight. Acadian's Equalizer just set the whole thing up despite Varus being down a single level. And then once again here, this engage there from JJ and Lorlo was great. The Equalizer layered right on top of it, making sure the carries get eliminated. And then JJ from the side. They were so quick at following each other up. It's a strong sign of teamwork when you can make these kinds of engages and have everybody jump at the same time, following the same call together. It's something we saw time and time again, and it made it so that even when Spawn did get caught, the rest of the team was able to follow through. Watch that. The double TP follows in. Lee Sin and Akali get into the mix. They instantly start wreaking havoc onto the Golden Guardians members. So it was a strong showing from the solo lanes out of Dignitas QNTM, but I feel that Spawn, JJ, and Acadian had their shining moments as well. And so the whole team played well, and the victory was deserved for everyone.
Yeah, and I think the big flashy number that we have to talk about is that 25 stack Magi Soul Stealer that Soligo was able to pick up for himself. I mean, we called him a Dancer of Death before, but he was definitely doing the Baila de los Muertos, being able to dip in and out of these fights. I mean, that bottom side fight that we saw where he was able to clip one person with the 5-point shuriken while he was flipping in the air towards another target. I mean, come on, man. That is just mwah, beautiful stuff on the Akali. But I don't imagine that Soligo is going to get it again, or if he does, that Golden Guardians Academy are going to have to come in with a better strategy to counteract against it.
You have to appreciate the mobility we just saw in that last replay there from the top tribe rush. Does Akali run all the way into the base while Lee Sin is simultaneously chasing Ziggs down going into the base. So pretty cool stuff. And I think the strategy is pretty self-explanatory, I think, from what we have seen thus far across the globe. If you can't beat them, join them. That means you just need to take these champions earlier. You need to have a priority to be able to play these picks yourself and take these matchups and then execute on them. Because I believe it was a first pick Lee Sin out of Dignitas QNTM, and so oftentimes you think twice about picking Akali into the Lee Sin, but then you are faced with the trouble of giving those two away, and it makes it a living nightmare for whoever is playing a marksman in that game. So if you're going to give that up, you just have to have tanks, right? You have to have champions that want you to dive into them, that can defend themselves really well against that. But thus far, we have yet to see anybody index in that direction just yet. I think it's totally possible in the current meta. We just haven't seen it happen.
And looking at some of the bans that came up during the first draft phase, we saw things like the Gwen is still a red side ban, but there was a Thresh and Lucian that was banned on the blue side from Dignitas before they had to start up the Lulu Karma handshake of bans so that neither one of them would be able to get a powerful enchanter all by themselves. Now that Dignitas are going to be on the red side, we'll have to see if some of their ban priorities changed up, because one of them is going to have to go to this Gwen. Golden Guardians. Lucian has been a powerful pick in the hands of not only Yunbi or Niles, but also Prismal loves to get down with that Lucian if it's a good matchup for him in the bottom lane.
I don't want to see Prismal get down and dirty with the Lucian. That's all I'm saying. I think there's better picks right now. I like the flexibility, right? I like the flexibility. It's something that's got to be respected every time. But the Lucian, I think, currently is better suited for other lanes. I'm looking at Kog'Maw, right? That, to me, is the pick that I think should slowly ease his way back into the lineup. We saw, I believe it was Cloud9 prioritized it, at least in a ban, it's been making rounds across the globe. And listen, if the team is trying to dive into you, you have answers like Braum that can be very good at peeling melee champions, combos well with this kind of AD carry, and I mean, it sounds like a joke, but at least you're actually offering your passive as Kog'Maw, right? At least you're actually doing something. So it actually does add up, right? It actually adds up if you are planning a composition around protecting a carry that then also has a lot of damage if you ignore him and can do something if he dies, because that's part of the problem with these current assassins, with these bruisers, is that they eliminate these carries so quickly, and none of them have a way to even contribute in the remotest sense to a fight before they go down. So that is something that other carries just don't have, and because of that is one of the advantages that I think Kog'Maw has in the current meta.
You know, and I think the other thing that we have to talk about is that teams are still kind of not really indexing into a ton of disengage utility. There's other now, obviously, they're the coaching staff are going to be the ones that figure out which champions best are served in the meta. But every time that we have seen one team make a strong core of powerful divers and or engage to follow up on it, there's never really an answer of like, okay, well, we are going to go full on disengage. We're pulling out the Janna. We're pulling out other things that are able to push back members and divers off of our carries. It's usually, well, we're going to go for counter engage. We're picking up the Rel with the Magnastorm. We're going to double down with the Nautilus to make sure that we're locking you down as well. But then it just becomes a battle of who becomes stronger first in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game, and who's hitting those mythics and who can really actualize on their advantages before the other team gets the chance to be able to answer back.
All the things you've listed, disengage, fighting early, being able to push an advantage, are things that Braum does, I think, better than current Enchantress, because Enchantresses have a hard time actually pressing these advantage by themselves, setting up these dives. Half the time, they are themselves vulnerable to getting killed. And so that's a big problem with these Enchantresses, is that they'll also get dope. But a pick like a Braum can be very disruptive in a team fight, is also really powerful level 1. And so it actually allows you to invade. It increases the variety of strategies you can have to start the game with, and then you can transition into maybe a split map situation. You can protect your carry, make sure he gets the itemization that he needs without jungle intervention to set him behind. And then he's also really good at peeling, not just with the shield, but also you do have increased resistances. You do guarantee stuns against these champions because they are so mobile. You can't expect the other champions to always get for a tank to stun them and lock them down every time, but all it takes is Braum, give him a little shoulder tap, and then the AD carry attacks him, and before you know it, you're stunned. And look at this, Rafa. What did we just say? You needed to answer with the Akali. You needed to take it as a response, and you were not able to give it away. And thank you, Dignitas QNTM Academy, because you've just done it. You see the Lee Sin, you lock away the Akali. You make sure they don't get that combination.
Yeah, either Niles or Yumbi would have been comfortable and more than happy to take that pick into their hands, as this Lee Sin can still be flexed in between the two. I don't think Rosethorn would be taking the Lee Sin into the jungle. I know he loves early game junglers like the Elise and the Rek'Sai, but that doesn't seem to be the same wheelhouse, or at least as practiced from what I have seen. This Viego locked in a second time. I imagine if Yumbi took it for Game 1, he'll probably take it again for Game 2. Now, Golden Guardians Academy, they have an opportunity to try and lock down either their other solo laner of choice, or at least their jungle pick here for Rosethorn, or if they want to start indexing into their bottom lane.
It's going to be another Gragas jungle. I mean, they are trying to save the support pick for later, but I think this presents Dignitas QNTM for an opportunity to start banning away supports, and maybe that could really hurt Golden Guardians down the line. If they really feel like the Gragas is just such a powerful pick, then okay, I see why they're going for it. It was okay the last game. He wasn't the problem. I think the overall team execution was the issue, so I can see why they want to go for a round 2. My only concern is there can be a lot of anti-synergy between Gragas jungle and Lee Sin in the top lane. They have such giant displacement ultimates that they need to be in top communication with each other to make sure that they're executed properly.
Yeah, and for Dignitas Quantum, they know that Golden Guardians have powerful disengage tools as well as ability to set up picks and plays. They already have the Senna being banned away. I imagine that if they want to get rid of quote-unquote safer AD carries for Prismal, that Ezreal could be another ban off the table that they want to lock away.
Yeah, Ezreal definitely would be pretty good against the Nocturne. You can just shift out when you see him, good into just dodging out of hooks, and okay against dealing with Akali. I mean, if you get hit by her E, it doesn't really matter if you shift away. She can follow you up. It does get banned, and I want to see what Prismal has as an answer to this, because once again, Rafa, this composition, yes, it doesn't have the Lee Sin to follow up with the Akali, but it has a Nocturne. So they are intent on diving a single member, just engaging out of nowhere, and it's going to be really difficult dealing with the paranoia. Now you won't be able to see. Now there won't be any teleports that will be channeled when Dignitas QNTM chooses to go in. Let's see what they pair up with this Nocturne, though. Okay, it will be a Volibear in the jungle, so plenty of dive, plenty of tower dive, too.
Volibear, paired along with the rest of this comp. I mean, we already knew that Dignitas QNTM identity is all about going forward, being able to move. Volibear allows you to do that. Golden Guardians Academy are going to answer with the Ziggs again, so this is practically a run back, just trading out the Jace for a Lee Sin this time around, Crumbs.
Well, the Nautilus is fine into the Thresh. It's a good lane there. I think Thresh does have opportunity to outplay it, but Prismal must have really liked his options as 1-3-1, like just farming in the mid lane, being able to then allow Yunbi and Niles to dominate the side lanes while he just gets to farm up. It didn't go well that last game for many other factors, but Dignitas QNTM just answered with Sivir. So now you have a really good way to defend yourself against the Nautilus. You have endless free mana from the Ziggs lane, since he's always going to be spamming spells, and you actually do help the rest of your team to dive, to go in.
That is what Dignitas QNTM are going to be screaming every time that Sivir presses the on the hunt. They are looking to only go one direction, Crumbs, and it is forward. There is no backwards on this composition at all, because if you are ever retreating as Dignitas QNTM, then you're doing something wrong, and something has gone disastrous in the early game or the mid game. But for Golden Guardians Academy, they have some decent disengage tools, but because Dignitas are over-indexing on just trying to just charge right into their faces, it's gonna be difficult to see if Golden Guardians have what it takes to be able to keep Dignitas at bay.
Yeah, it's at least a kind of a run back from the same two comps, so I think that both teams can feel a little more warmed up and comfortable with dealing with what they each want to bring to the table. So I think the bot lane should go better. Dealing with Soligo's Akali should go better as well. So I think it's looking like it's going to be a much closer matchup. It was that Rift Herald fight that really swung things around. I think the game was fairly close up until that point. And now Dignitas QNTM won't have that giant Rumble equalizer to just win a team fight so hard. I think instead, they'll be looking for power dive much more with Nocturne, with the Volibear. And so there's going to be one of these laners who's going to be the victim of a lot of action. And I get the feeling that it's going to be either Niles or Prismal who will be the target of Dignitas QNTM's ultimates.
We're on the Rift now for Game 2 of the series. Dignitas already taken Game 1. For those who are just joining us, Golden Guardians are pretty much doing as you pointed out, a run back of their composition, just swapping out the Lee Sin for the Jace. Niles on the Lee Sin gives them a little bit more mobility and is not as dependent on being able to snowball right from the get-go. If the lane phase doesn't go in his way, at least he'll still be able to provide utility with that Dragon's Rage in those fights.
Yeah, and I think that this keeps Niles much safer. It's not the best matchup into the Nocturne, but he's not going to get picked on and be able to get killed every single time the enemy wants to go after him. Now, at level 6, though, things could change. Acadian and Lorelo together can be really devastating around a turret, but that's still better than a Jace. Lee Sin is a much safer laner, and That is why he's so prized right now.
Man. Beautiful stuff from Yoonbi, capitalizing on the fact that Saligo went to get an early ward onto the Raptors for Rosethorn, but Yoonbi already having wave control just dumpsters Saligo's health bar.
Hey, doesn't Yunbi's sword look like Gwen's scissors just closed and yellow?
Yeah. I was actually wondering that last game too.
Yeah, look at that. It kind of looks like a pair of scissors.
Well, you know, they are champions that were just released back-to-back, so I don't know if the art team just said, you know, they're pretty similar. At least this one has, like, a handle. You just have to look closer to make sure that when the scissors are not opened up, that not similar. But anyway, for Dignitas, you already saw that Nocturne is getting an advantage in the push on to Niles, as you said that it would happen, as for Nocturne, you get access to a lot easier wave clears just thanks to your passive and auto-attacking, but Yumbi making use of his advantage in the mid lane, getting a ward down on Acadian, allows him to see. Acadian is busy doing the jungle, so Niles is going to try to start a fight here with Lorlo. He's still down a level, Lorlo on level 3, while Niles is level 2, but Rosethorn does have Body Slam to follow up. But Lorlo, great patience on the spell shield, and now both of them have they committed with Flash, so Rosethorn has nowhere to go, and Acadian on the follow-up gets first blood with Lorlo.
That was an outplay from Lorlo, just laughing it all the way to the bank. Gets the first blood. He held on to the spell shield this whole time. He didn't pop it. Niles and Rosethorn just didn't keep track of this. He didn't use it for the Tempest. He didn't use it for this. And so right at the Flash Body Slam, all he has to do is press spell shield on the moment when the critical spell will come out. So in his mind, he's thinking, what is the one spell that I must avoid to get hit by? The Body Slam. Has that up when Rosethorn flashed, and since he's going for a Telegraph Body Slam flash, and nicely does Acadian help follow him up, and that actually ends up with a blue buff steal. Rosethorn is so far behind because he cut his pathing just to go for that game.
They'll be able to get a Scuttlecrab potentially as a compensation prize, but already Dignitas is saying, no, Rosethorn, you're not allowed to have any of that. He gets the crab, but at what cost? No flash, no body slam means that this fat man is going down.
Really nice out of Dignitas QNTM's bottom lane. They know what Rosethorn is up to. He's lucky that he at least gets the crab, because had he lost that crab, it would have been a complete disaster for this Gragas. But Dignitas QNTM correctly determined that because Acadian is in the top side grabbing that scuttle, the only option for Rosethorn is to go for the bottom one. And the bottom lane, who has priority, who has the lantern to quickly collapse, commit everything on a flashless Gragas, and kill him for the second time this game.
Dignitas. This time around, Crumbs, they're the ones with kind of a little bit of early game advantage.
Oh, Prismo.
Whew. Well,
If
at least
that hook
he still
hits,
gets the
he
man.
dies.
Yeah.
If that hook hits, he is dead. There is no way out of that one.
And Frizzle still trying to maintain this freeze, though, as trying to find some advantages back into this game. As already, Rosethorn being punished, both on the top side of the map and in the river, means that his Gragas is a little bit behind, down a level already, whereas Acadian is far more accelerated, being able to pick up and counter jungle a lot of the resources away from Rosethorn.
And that means that Acadian will hit level 6 sooner, and that will allow him to actually make these tower dives across the map. So that's what I'm looking out for, to see when Acadian chooses to start looking for somebody to go after. And Rosethorn is just doubling down on helping Niles here. Instead of going for farming in the bot side, which all he can do is really go for Krugs, instead he'll look to base here, shadowing Niles, making sure that if a play is to happen against the Lee Sin, he's there to back it up. Yet, Niles not only has vision in river, he's got flash, and he has minion waves behind him, so he can ward hop and use the kick to disengage. So even if a gank attempt were to happen, I think he would probably be safe, as he's at full HP and in a very comfortable spot.
Comes having a potential guess that Rosethorn was on the top side of the map, give Niles the ability to push in that wave for free. Nas just used teleport to go back to lane. The Cadian, feeling confident that Spawn and JJ have the push priority already in bottom lane, will attempt to solo down this dragon. Rosethorn's not going to answer. He might look for a potential bot lane gank, but already the rest of the Dignitas QNTM rotating over to make sure the dragon is secured, and Soligo also coming down to help as well.
Yeah, it's nice timing out of Dignitas QNTM there to go for that dragon. Pretty free. Rosethorn pathing in the bot side, and they even actually got to get his Predator boots, so that will make his ganks a little bit weaker, which worthy window for him to claw his way back into this game and prevent Acadian's advantage to get much larger than what it currently is. So this is really going to work out for Dignitas QNTM, as even the bottom lane is now winning.
A newbie trying to tank up as much damage, but that was a lot. Prismal doesn't have that much mana, but might be enough to throw out an Omega Infernal Bomb to get some damage down on the JJ, burning both the heal from Spawn as well as the ignite from JJ, but both of them retain their flashes. Rosethorn is here to potentially protect the bottom lane dive, but Cadian is here, and this is actually a squishy bear. He only has a sheen just for extra damage, but a beautiful death sentence from JJ might lock up Rosethorn. Has to use the flash to get out of harm's way. Dignitas are able to push back the members of Golden Guardians.
Prismal does not have teleport, so he'll have to base here while Spawn can actually stay attacking this turret. Gets a single plate already. Will actually be able to stay and push another wave if he really wants to. It isn't a cannon wave, so I think he'll look to do that. And this is a pretty good spot for Dignitas QNTM. They are dominating multiple lanes. Now top lane has caught up. He'll just have the quick recall here, but still ahead in farm. So Acadian, who goes down, looking for the opportunity to get a dive, gets actually countered by Rosethorn and gets his ultimate taken away as he runs to keep alive. And that actually will slow things down, though, as without the ultimate, Volibear, much less interested in the tower dives that he's so famous for.
Yeah, Stormbreaker definitely hits different when you disable the turret like an Ohm Wrecker and are just wailing away on the poor fool that decided to stay under the turret against you. But Rosethorn has rotated along with Newbie to make sure that they can get some priority over this Rift Herald, but a control ward will spot them out. The question is, are Dignitas interested in trying to contest?
Similar to last game, Golden Guardians utilize Ziggs' priority in the bottom lane to just keep him there and allow the support to go for a play on his own. He'll just rotate over in case his ultimate was needed. But now JJ and Soligo are interested in cutting him off. They're not going to let anybody get down to the bottom side again. Prismal will have his ultimate available if he really needs to use that to ult this minion wave, but it looks like he'll just take the extra safe way, and Spawn will get a plate for that.
And this totally makes sense in comparison to Game 1, because last time they were using the Varus with Spawn, which already has a lot of innate power in earlier on into the game when you're contesting for objectives, but this is just a Sivir. Yes, she can clear waves, but in team fights early on, she doesn't really offer that much apart from straight-up movement speed from the ultimate, so giving Spawn a lot of time to be able to farm safely in the solo lane and get that CS advantage just accelerates her ability to be able to hit that first mythic.
And Sivir is no joke when it comes to damage in a team fight. I think that her late game potential and even in the mid game is often so surprising. We've seen all sorts of varieties in builds. Probably will be going with like Gale Force this game, but even lethality is viable on her. And so this pick can just be such a good champion to synergize with the solo lanes that are currently so relevant in the meta that I think we'll see more and more of her. And it's cool to see how Academy's continuing to experiment with the bottom lane picks.
Yeah, love innovation, man. Just being able to see more and more diversity of picks. Now, Prismal and Newbie. I mean, there's no more minion wave, but you do have a Cadian who's just going to disable the turret, and you've got Nocturne coming in with the Paranoia, and it's just lights out for the bottom lane of Golden Guardians.
We knew the tower dives were going to be a thing. We knew somebody in the side lanes was going to be picked on from Golden Guardians. And with Ziggs and the Nautilus caught by themselves and the Paranoia to prevent any other teleports if they were even available, Dignitas QNTM had everything they needed and more to go for this dive. Really well executed. They get multiple kills. They get plates. Else will get something in return, but the amount of power that Dignitas just gained from getting those 2 kills is going to be tough to bounce back from. that kind of momentum swing that just comes out of nowhere when the ultimates are up. They can continue to do again and again. Will have to stay in the back of Golden Guardians' minds as they advance into this game if they want to stay competitive.
I mean, when you look at the investments and the resources that Dignitas just put into this bottom lane, and you consider that Golden Guardians already gave up a lot of Prismal's priority to make sure that they could take the Rift Herald, and now they lost more on it because of that dive. I mean, Prismal is not having the most fun laning phase right now, and he's just trying to do his best to keep up.
Well, he might have a fun time at this dragon, though, as it seems like we're going to get a fight here. And he does have ultimate and flash. Hook lands.
Engage onto JJ. Dredgeline connects, as you said. JJ still trying to walk his way out of this one. Niles going in with the Sonic Wave, forcing the flash out of JJ. Burning the Ignite as well. Spawn using heal. But still flash for the AD carry, as Golden Guardians are doing a pretty good job of being able to push away Dignitas away from this dragon. So Ligo is here, has perfect execution. Not level 11 yet, so it's not going to hit as hard as it would during this mid-game fight. This dragon is 2,400 health. Golden Guardian still trying to dissuade Dignitas from being able to engage. Paranoia isn't available for Lolo, but it could be up in just a few more seconds. If Dignitas can stall enough time, then they can have this engage, as Niles is going to go try to fight a 1v1 against Soligo, kicking him out of Twilight Shroud. But Niles has now isolated himself, trying to buy as much time as they can. Who's going to come out? Wait! The dragon is secured by Rosethorn, as it was just 8 HP. Could have been close. Prismal finally finds the killing blow onto JJ, and they follow up as Yunbi taking over the bodies of the fallen members of Dignitas QNTM, and they run down a couple of members out of the fight. They lost Niles in the side lane against Soligo, but Soligo should be able to make it out alive.
Finally, Golden Guardians get a fight that go in their favor. They bid their time. They waited. They just made sure that they got enough cooldowns out of Dignitas QNTM before they committed to the fight. This is a teleport that's just there to defend the turret, though. It's not going to be able to go for a kill. So it's just going to be there, just chilling, making sure that this turret does not go down. Keep in mind, Ziggs has that satchel charge, right? That health on the turret. Doesn't seem like the turret's about to go down, but he can just get a few more autos, pop that W, and suddenly the tower is gone. So it is a fine TP from Soligo to keep his turret alive.
For Dignitas, still holding on in terms of the gold advantage, but like you said, Crumbs, Golden Guardians, for them and for any Golden Guardians fans in the chat, they needed to have found that advantage. It is great for them to be able to keep themselves in the game. We're going to have to take a look. You know, Niles bought so much time on the side lane, and this is where things started to get a little crazy.
Soligo has been so important for Dignitas QNTM. Without him threatening to dive onto Prismal, Nocturne just can't go in. You need Nocturne and Akali in combination. And so because of that, he gets one kill, but the rest of the fight goes Golden Guardians' way. That's something that they can really hone themselves on. Remember that they actually were able to win a fight, and I think the key lesson from them moving forward is you just have to peel the Akali away. The Nocturne won't be such a big deal, but making sure that Soligo does not connect onto Prismal will be imperative for a team fight win, and that's where Niles can come in. In one fight he distracted her, but in the next one he could just use his Dragon's Rage and make sure that she doesn't even enter the fight.
We passed the 15-minute mark. The only mythic that was completed is for Spawn with the Kraken Slayer and the Immortal Shield Bow for Yunbi, respectively. And of course the Strikebreaker for Lorlo. So a couple members are quite at some strong points as we're approaching the mid-game here. The second Rift Herald is going to be started up by Dignitas, and this time they have the numbers to be able to support for a full-on secure. Golden Guardians, only Yunbi's not there. But he does have a teleport in case they want to be able to join, as this Rift Herald, I imagine, is looking towards this mid or top lane here, Crone.
Yeah, they get that objective for free there. Always love to see that pop in the mid lane. It'll be incredibly important because you're up against the Ziggs. Oftentimes, the legends of Ziggs just call us back to games of 50 minutes long, and because his wave clear is that good.
No.
The mid lane wave clear, that's right. That's what can happen here. You got Sivir and Ziggs. If they stay alive, they can wave clear forever. So using Rift Herald to take down the turrets from either is going to be really important in taking these team fights and actually getting objectives on the map, because if they live, then their wave clear will just stall the game out and it'll be very difficult to accelerate to the point where you can just win the game.
Yeah, it's just like Season 4 where you could just wave clear one side lane with your Mega Inferno Bomb while dedicating the rest of your kit over to clearing out mid lane, as we're seeing a race for the first brick, but I think Dignitas should be able to have the first crack at it, as I was getting a little close to it, but I was confident. Soligo had first crack at the turret. Now Dignitas, rotating a majority of their members. They didn't use a Rift Herald on the bottom side of the map. They're going to use it mid, catching Prismal at off of a reset. It's teleporting in, trying to save the turret, as Rosethorn is here around the corner as well. Dignitas are going to give their respect and walk away.
That's some good damage. That really is. The fact that they got that charge off without any defense from Golden Guardians means that just a single team fight win or a few good waves that get crashed upon from Dignitas QNTM onto the blue side, that means they'll be able to get that turret. So a slow but certain advantage out of them to be able to take these turrets down. And with the top one taken down, if Lorlo can stay in this lane, it'll put even more pressure onto mid. Should be able to walk away with a quick fear of Niles, and we'll just wait for the wave to bounce back. We're in a bit of a farm fest right now. Both teams are very happy with their late game, and so they're not interested in over-forcing fights, since both feel that the late game is in their favor, but only one team must win, so clearly one of them must be right and the other wrong.
Nice damage out from JJ and Spawn working in tandem. Gonna try to chunk out Rosethorn here. Teleport is coming out from, I believe, Niles. He's going to be here for the party, making sure that they are here for the first crack at the dragon. We are getting a Ocean Soul, or no, I'm sorry, a Cloud Soul game. JJ lands a hook onto Niles, but the rest of Golden Guardians are quite in position. The only person that we have to keep our eyes on is Soligo, who is waiting on a bush that is not warded, but he has to back off now as Niles and Rosethorn make sure to check, as they're playing this dragon very slowly. JJ
Niles
going over the wall. Niles is getting locked up here, gets into the box. Soligo getting some chunk damage down, and the Ignite is enough along with Spawn's auto attack to take down Niles. Soligo trying to fight a 1v1 onto Yumbi, but super low on health. Going to disengage from that 1v1. JJ also low on health as well. Spawn and Lorlo trying to keep the members of Golden Guardians at bay as Lorlo will get locked up here. Beautiful explosive cast, but the Mega Inferno Bomb goes wide as JJ is able to pull out Lorlo with a clutch Dark Passage, but some super low HP members, despite having a numbers advantage, means that they have to walk away or play this fight with woohoo! Yumbi, gotta be careful, brother. That death sentence could have been your very last. And now Golden Guardians are the ones with super low HP bars here. Rosethorn just smiting it up, and the action doesn't stop here. Crumbs goes, we gotta teleport in, but Lorlo, he wasn't by himself. But maybe he buys enough time for Dignitas to burn down this dragon, but just as I say that, this is a constant war, and my anxiety is going through the roof right now.
Golden Guardians now get the dragon fight, and that was just a really messy one that could have been Dignitas, since they got Niles right away. They took down Lee Sin in the flank as he was hunting for Soligo. They collapsed onto him, but then the poke from over the wall, Golden Guardians already was able to disengage and do a good job in making sure that, since so much of the initial aggressiveness, the hooks, the dives were spent on Lee Sin and Yunbi, well, Prisma was entirely safe. The rest of the team had nothing to fear and could poke away from a distance.
Dignitas, the gold advantage that they once had at the beginning of the game, has now been evened up by Golden Guardians as they've been able to answer back. And just, despite this kill on the Niles, you'll see later on, Crumbs, they just couldn't close out the advantage for this dragon pick.
It was a really good pick, but then they have to go through the minefield, and Prisma just lays down another and continues to just lay down the hurt from over the wall. There's no one that can really commit onto this. Dignitas QNTM is already tanking the dragon, and you gotta remember that Sivir is a short-range AD carry. It's her ability to ricochet off of multiple targets that extends her range to the backline. If she's not able to hit anybody, she's essentially getting zoned off from the bombs from over the wall. So that, in turn, keeps Spawn from maximizing his DPS and wins the fight for Golden Guardians.
That sentence from JJ is just trying to be a nuisance, as it gives enough pressure respond to finally knock down that tier 1 turret in the mid lane. Now the map has been opened up wide, and as we see already the fruitions of the mid game crumbs, where Dignitas already trying to scatter their vision control across the entire jungle on this top side of the map.
And this vision control will allow them to go for Baron. It's a Kraken Slayer on the Sivir, so if they can get some free time with that objective, then they'll be able to easily take that. Now, it'll have to come at a team fight win. There's no point trying to rush this when you're dealing with so much burst damage between Prismal, Rosethorn, entering the pit with a smite on top of all of that. So they're just preparing and hoping to see Golden Guardians maybe make a mistake, maybe feel pressured that they don't have vision around Baron, as it often happens when the team wards Baron. The enemy feels like they have to do it themselves or risk the opportunity of not fighting the enemy when they sneak that objective to just completely pass by, and then you give them an advantage that is too difficult to bounce back from.
Spawn just finished his Essence Reaver. The first one on the Rift with 2 items to their name. It's going to make it a lot easier just to constantly spam Boomerang Blade and Ricochet through these minion waves to be able to match the wave clear that Prismal is contesting with in this Ziggs. Mid priority is not necessarily going to go to either team strongly, but it allows Dignitas to be able to fight for it. And as you said before, the vision control is going to be super important for being able to contest this Baron, as a Dragon objective isn't going to be up on the table for another 3-4 minutes, so the center of the action will be on the top quadrant.
Top quadrant action. I always enjoy some alcove gaming if we can have it, but seems like that doesn't seem to be the case unless the waves get really pushed back. Looking for Lorlo, but he's got a spell shield. They've learned this one about 20 minutes ago, so they won't fall for it again.
So far, just a lot of handshakes going on from Golden Guardians and Dignitas. They understand that top side of the map is theirs to take for the moment, whereas they try to push out Lorlo from the bottom side of the map. Niles trying to get a advantage and potentially threaten the turret here on the cross map. We do have a dragon now spawning in about a minute's time. Golden Guardians secure this. That would put them at Cloud Soul Point. Not sure if it's in their best interest here, or if Dignitas might potentially want to see if they can trade for Baron at the same time. We'll have to see.
I think these teams are just heavily invested in taking these fights, and so the objective trade I don't think really benefits either. They just want to make sure that they have a reason to take these fights. So now that they're fighting over vision, I think this is exactly what the teams have been looking for. Watch Newbie.
Oh, flash over the wall. Dredgeline connects onto Acadian. He's going to try to use the Stormbreaker, and with a quick Dark Passage, but it's still not enough to be able to dodge out on the damage. And look at the knockups, the bounce house from Golden Guardians as they keep Soligo and Lorlo, the 2 divers, away from their carries. They're able to force them off, taking down Lorlo as well. This should be the 3rd dragon going over to Golden Guardians.
I really enjoy Newbie going in there. It looks crazy, just flashing over the wall, but the rest of the team was quick to follow up, and that makes all the difference. Everybody there gets to engage, and that makes it so much harder for Dignitas and Quantum Pay to be coordinated in their engage, to isolate any member of Golden Guardians, and so that keeps them safe. The fact that they're being assertive is actually working in their favor to keep their carries protected. And that's making all the difference in these fights. When you're dealing with an Akali, when you're dealing with a Nocturne that don't get to have the dream engage, that coordinated attack from multiple angles, when they have to be the ones retreating, it just never looks the same.
I mean, we talked about it at the top of the draft, Crumbs. If Dignitas are ever running away with this composition, you know something is wrong. They have to go forward, right? But they just cannot cut through all the disengaged utility that they have. You have Nautilus, you have Lee Sin with Dragon's Rage, you have Gragas who can just body slam and stun multiple people at the same time.
That's the beauty of the Gragas, the Lee, the Not, even the Viego to an extent. Just feeling, oh, Niles, careful.
Whew. Just trying to clear out some vision. Everything's okay.
It was not okay many other times before, so when I see that happen, I'm thinking you are playing with fire. You better be careful there, because All it takes is a single hook that gets a pick, and suddenly Dignitas QNTM can just start a Baron. Those are the situations that later into the game you just want to be avoiding, because the gain is so small, just looking for something there with no one to follow you up. And the downside of it going bad is astronomical. So it's a thing of risk management where sometimes it's just not worth it.
I mean, if you've been watching Nas for quite some time, you know he's always playing with fire. Whether it's for the best or not, you know, that is up to you as the viewer to decide. But Niles definitely, on this Lee Sin, has a lot more mobility. If that Death Sentence had connected, he did have Safeguard and Flash potentially, but it definitely doesn't feel good to burn those spells right before a potential fight for Baron, as a lot of the vision control that Golden Guardians have been planting down is around this objective at the moment. You have Rostor and Newbie waiting in Fog of War. They're going to look for a Dredge line. Goes wide. Prismal throwing out the Mega Inferno Bomb, but a nice locket. I don't know if they still should go for this fight, but they're going to keep on going forward. Explosive Cast lands on the Lorlo. He's going to turn off the lights here with a Paranoia. Now it's up to Dignitas. Do they want to take the re-engage? But they'll just use this as an opportunity to try and get out. Now it's taking the Resonating Strike onto Acadian. Going to get pushed back. The Golden Guardians, they burned quite an amount of ultimate abilities from the side of Dignitas. Maybe it's enough to force this Baron.
Yeah, it could be. Now, you do have a lot of burst. Rosethorn just popped the smite, but he'll have it back up for this objective. Dignitas QNTM does not have a Scryer's Bloom. They won't be able to see into this objective. This could be the advantage that they need, and if Prismal can just stay clearing out this minion wave, they'll also have mid-priority. It looks like Dignitas QNTM only now suspect it, but the Baron is at half HP. They need to move fast.
They did shove in this mid-wave, so there's going to be some turret damage that will happen regardless of what happens in this fight, as Acadian using the Stormbreaker and the Flash to get out of danger here. And it's enough, because Golden Guardians just don't have enough damage to really burn down through this Baron. Dignitas, despite losing out on a couple more summoner spells, dissuade the Baron from being taken.
They got the teleport out of Lorlo, and I think part of the reason why the DPS is absent is this isn't even a AD carry comp, and it's not a Blade of the Ruin King Viego, and so there's actually quite a lot of damage missing that is normally present when you're drafting in AD carry, or even when Viego goes for that kind of build. So just that two-man threat, not enough to actually scare Dignitas QNTM, as they see Prismal there, but they attempt one more time, except now there is the double trinket. It doesn't look like even Golden Guardians wants to go for this. They're just testing the waters, or maybe Niles wanted to go for it and Rosethorn did not.
Hey, let me test my damage real quick. I don't do that much. My bad. All right, well, they're going to try again, potentially, as it is going to take some time, but at least Niles does have missing percentage HP damage that could somewhat deal with this Baron over quite a bit of time, but Prismal actually has to play goalkeeper and try and fight for mid-priority while also keeping Dignitas at bay.
It's too late. It's at 5k. They have to run. Volibear is so far away. JJ has to lantern him in, but he has no flash or ultimate to get into the mix.
That sentence goes wide. They're going to pop the On the Hunt. Newbie is here to start up the fight here. Paranoia comes out. They're going to dive right onto him, but no one is touching Prismal, so Liga goes in, popping the Zonia's Hourglass to try to buy some time. Perfect execution isn't going to be enough damage, though, and Golden Guardians, this might have been a fight that they potentially could have not won, but Nas is still trying to clean things up. Dignitas still up on members right now, but my God, how do Golden Guardians keep winning these fights? It seems that Dignitas was being able to come out on top, but the damage, the ability to take second frames from Golden Guardians is still enough to cut down even through the mightiest of bears in Acadian. And now Yumbi, he's the bear. He's the one closing the distance on the spawn, and it's a shutdown and a team-wide ace for Golden Guardians.
How do they win these fights? It's because they're engaging first, and they've got Yumbi on the Viego, who is just popping off. He is so strong right now, doesn't even get his Guardian Angel taken away from him, and the fight starts with Newbie actually landing a hook onto spawn. Yes, you're not able to actually ult the Sivir. She does have Spell Shield. She pops abilities to disengage, but that is not the position that Dignitas wants to have with this formation. They were pressured to run into the pit. You want the Akali, the Nocturne, the Volibear to dive into the backline, to kill a few members, but with Viego on the map, with him being able to get multiple resets. He's such a nuisance in the front lines that it buys time for Prismal and Rosethorn and Niles to just do as much as they want while Yunbi zones the rest of the members away.
We're getting a lot of chaotic fights in this game, Crumbs, and for Golden Guardians, being able to pick up the Baron in the aftermath of that ace, being able to secure the Cloud Soul as well, they have put themselves at a huge lead right now. The gold-wise, it's only 4,000, but in terms of the objectives and the buffs that they now have on their hands, they have the movement speed, they have the ultimate ability haste, and we got to look at this fight once again.
So great hook there, separates Spawn. By this time, the Dignitas QNTM members are completely bounced out. That actually was a really good cast there by Rosethorn. And then Viego and Prismal on the back get to do so much. Acadian is chasing the Nautilus on the side, and so there's no peel for anybody else. Without Sivir attacking, there's just no damage here. Without Sivir being the DPS, Akali is a burst assassin that has these play patterns that require her cooldowns. They're low, but she's not a constant source of DPS like Spawn is. And so without the Sivir being protected, she's gonna get outranged, she's getting jumped on, and has to constantly run away.
Yunbi was putting up his best performance or the best that he could in game one, but it just wasn't enough to be able to deal with Dignitas, as they just had so many tools to be able to just win these fights outright from the get-go before Yunbi had a chance to go for resets. But this time around, the burst is enough. The fight is long enough that to be able to take extended fights for Golden Guardians. He's able to finally pick up resets and then pick up powerful members from the stragglers of Dignitas QNTM. You have Spawn to grab, you have Soligo to grab, you have Lorlo to grab as well. And with this GA still available, Yunbi is not going down anytime soon.
At this point of Viego, I feel like there's almost no champion that you don't want to be possessing. He is just so good at using your own strength against you, whether it's mobility, stuns, or just anything else to reposition. He's making the most out of it, and currently is deathless with another life steal on top. So this next fight, if it happens before Baron runs out, will be entirely dependent on Yunbi to see what he gets to do once more, as his ability to stay alive is just incredible. Here we go.
They're going to try to force a fight onto Prismal, but he's able to beautifully disengage away with thanks to that satchel charge. So Ligo is getting locked up super difficultly in the middle of the fight, trying to use the perfect execution to get out alive, but it's not going to be the case. But wait a minute, check out the HP bars for Golden Guardians. But just as I say that, Yunbi has the Guardian's Angel to be able to live again, looking for resets once more onto Acadian, gets one, and now he's the Electric Bear. He's the one looking to get the pause and the maul down onto Spawn and Lorlo, and he's just doing a hell of a job here. Lorlo popped the stopwatch to try to buy some time, but it's not going to be enough. Niles following up. Mega Inferno Bomb going a little bit wide. Spawn is doing enough damage here. Can he take down Nas? He still has to deal with Prismal, but he's super low on HP. He can probably protect this turret before it falls. Just as I say that, it goes down, and Spawn has to pick between two evils right now. Oh my god! Hit him with the dab, Niles! My god!
What a fight! What a fight! I loved how that was played out at the end. The 1v2 from Spawn just wasn't enough. Gets just kicked in the dome into the Ziggs. And Golden Guardians bounce back. This is why we need best of twos, Rafa.
That's right.
This is why we needed it, because Golden Guardians, yes, they can lose the first game, but they quickly adapted. They quickly recognized, and they doubled down in what worked for them and played it so much better than the first time around.
Yeah, this game was not only a handful, but also a mouthful, as there's just so much action going on back and forth. The fights lasted what seemed like eons, but Golden Guardians being able to persevere through thick and thin. As the way the game started out, it didn't seem like it was going to go Golden Guardians' way here, Crumbs.
Not at all. This was them just steamrolling Dignitas QNTM with a 3,000 gold lead, but then this Baron fight seemed to be where the power of Golden Guardians really shone. A lot of disengage, a lot of peel, and critically, not a lot of vision. Now that I get to see the fight in the replay, notice the amount of control wards that Golden Guardians has. 3 control wards in the brush, a ward in the little banana brush, and so they're fighting there without any idea of where Golden Guardians is positioned, and that makes it so much harder for them to step forward confidently, knowing who they're going after. You have assassins that need to be very specific with the targets that they prioritize, and without the vision, they're just not able to do that.
And the other thing, too, like the diving potential from Dignitas was just not enough to be able to actually lock down Prismal to assassinate. And, you know, in Game 1, we saw that Lorlo and Soligo had quite the pop-off games, going deathless on Lee Sin and Akali, respectively. And I mentioned, like, man, you can't let Akali go through again to Soligo. Well, now I know why that Golden Guardians did manage to let it through. You know, Lee Sin being locked in here, meaning that the mobility was not as versatile for Lolo this time around, because with Nocturne, with Paranoia, you're only going forward. Otherwise, you're just popping it just to take out some vision.
And with Nocturne, you just want dive buddies, and it felt like the rest of the diving partners out of Dignitas QNTM were not as powerful as you usually have them, right? They're not as explosive. It's not as guaranteed. It's the Nautilus and the Rumble that were last time. This is a hook. It's not a point and click, ensure that somebody stays locked down. So the burden of execution on Nocturne and Akali is so much higher. And in fact, it's almost too high. You really need to be perfect every single time, or else it's going to be too easy for the enemy to disengage, for you to not find that perfect team fight. And if you don't have that perfect fight, then Ziggs just jumps away and you can never catch up to him again.
This time, Prismal did not feel the pressure as much, as any time that Lorlo or Soligo tried to get to him, he either had his satchel charge to be able to blow himself away to safety, or you had people like Newbie on the Nautilus and Rosethorn on the Gragas being able to provide that peel and the disengage so that he could be bought the space that he needed. And, you know, the other thing, too, that Yumbi's Viego actually got the shine in this game versus in the game 1 that we saw, because there was enough damage and the fights were long enough that you could eventually get to the point where one carry fell, and then Yumbi just starts going for resets, using the champions against Dignitas QNTM.
That's all you want. You want to be able to have those resets. And also, I think the build, the few items that Viego gets are really important to allow him to buy enough time in the fight to actually get those. We always talk about, yeah, he has to get those few early kills, but half the time, if he's building pure DPS, you actually don't have the time to sit around and wait for somebody to get killed. If you instead have that first item that keeps you alive and then start building a mass tank, it's a matter of time for somebody to drop, for you to get the reset, and then the fight gets turned.
Yeah, I remember not being a believer in the Tank Viego build just because I love seeing damage builds being the better ones here, because it's more fun, but obviously it's working out greatly here in this case, because if you can't kill Viego, then eventually, like you said, he will be able to pick off one person, the first person that does go down on the opposition, to start using for resets. And the rest of Dignitas QNTM, they itemized and opted into having powerful, strong threats in almost every single role. So for them, there is almost never a bad choice for Yumbi to be able to pick up.
I feel that way increasingly every game about Viego. There just really isn't a bad possession to take. Even if there's a champion that is suboptimal, the fact that it gives you a window of invulnerability, gives you health, MS, all these other things are just so valuable that it's almost as if even if it didn't give you the enemy champion, the fact that you get all those things within a fight is often good enough.
Yeah, for sure. And I do believe that we should be scheduled with a Verizon post-series interview in just a few. We're just waiting to get word back on who our lucky interview guest will be. Obviously, it's going to be someone from Golden Guardians Academy, as they just took the win and being able to even up the series. But until then, we can start looking ahead, as both of these teams not able to close out their first 2-0 of the season, but Golden Guardians Academy making sure that they are still in contention as they're able to pick up a win within the series overall. And it seems like, something you noted, Crumbs, that Golden Guardians Academy over time are starting to find their identity within the summer split.
Yeah, their identity, their flexibility, the understanding of the meta, and I think that you want to take a bigger look at the whole standings. I think it's just the league is improving. Like I think that's
Yeah.
clearly it. We're getting more games. These teams are clearly getting better. They're looking better. Yeah, there's mistakes, as in every single game of League of Legends ever played, but they're clearly competing with each other in a much closer fashion than ever before. And the fact that they're taking games off of each other after, say, warming up game one or just tightening up their draft in the second match, I think just shows that the league as a whole is clearly improving. Now, when it comes to playoffs, that's when we'll really see who got the most improvement. Because for now, I mean, you can think of a game like Cloud9 versus EG that we started off. The fact that EG got smashed game one that then bounced back really seems a lot like the series that we just saw. And so it's hard to judge either of these teams and say one of them is much better or much worse. It's often, well, they clearly are good at learning and adapting. So that is what a best of it is all about. And that's how at the end of the season, they'll be judged. That's how the playoff run plays out.
Well, I will tell you, Crumbs, that blue side is 100% win ratio so far for the day. We'll have to see if 100 Thieves and CLG Academy will yield similar results when we get to that series. But the other thing that is nice about, having quadrupled the amount of games this summer split is, like you said, you have all this time to adapt, experiment. The best of twos is a huge, huge blessing for all the Academy teams to be able to ensure that they're not getting cheated out of a potentially one side being particularly stronger than the other. You will now have the opportunity to make sure you get a game on both sides of the coin. And also, like you said, it allows for experimentation and adaptation. I mean, we're seeing such versatile amount of picks and diversity of different champions coming into play here. Even though it didn't net them a win, I enjoy the idea and theory behind including a Sivir into this game, because you just wanna go forward on Dignitas, But for Golden Guardians, the big innovation today was obviously that Ziggs bot lane. It didn't get them the win in game one, but it did get them the win in game two. And speak of the devil, the person that did bring the Ziggs bot lane is going to be our interview guest coming in for our Verizon post-series interview. First of all, Prismal, what's up, man? How many games
Hey,
of Lawnmower did you get in before this series today?
Say that one again. How many Ziggs games did I play?
The Leaf Blower? How many games of Leaf Blower did you get in before the series
that
today?
game, that ship has sailed a long time ago.
No! Are you kidding me? No, what happened, man?
I've moved on to bigger and better things. I'm now addicted to playing Ziggs in normal games.
We can tell.
What else have you been praying in the bottom lane? Now, you don't have to spill the whole sauce, but what do you think is happening in the game that allows you to play different things in the bot lane?
Well, we've been experimenting with a few different things, and I just feel like with the meta right now and what's strong, you have a lot of flexibility in the bot lane, and so we wanted to experiment with some new things, and I feel like Ziggs was pretty good for us. It worked out pretty well in one of the games.
Nice. Yeah, looks
Yeah.
good.
I mean, we've seen Ziggs bot lane in prior iterations in the meta as well, and what was it really just the recent changes to Ziggs that allowed you or kind of prompted this innovation, or are there other mages that, like Crum said, you don't have to spill which mages, but are there any other mages that you or the other academy teams think that could be viable right now?
I definitely say be on the lookout for more picks that we'll bring out. We've always been a team that's super flexible, and because we have a super strong top side, I think Niles is really strong. I'm able to feel like I'm confident in my team if I play more utility based picks like the Ziggs. And so as long as I feel confident in my teammates, I'll always be willing to pull out random stuff, and you guys will probably see more of it along the split.
Now, what do you think is happening with either your team or the rest of the league in the getting used to best of twos? Because we see this trend happening so much where one team just smashes the first game and then the team that lost just easily comes back and wins again game two in almost a similar one-sided fashion. Were you guys sleepy? Are you just getting warmed up? Because that's what we heard from Mystiques. But what's going on with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely weird getting used to the new format, but I do feel like it helps a lot. Getting used to how people play and kind of analyzing the mistakes you made in the first game and how you're going to play better the next game. Especially playing against Dig Academy, I feel like they play a really linear play style. And once we were able to kind of adapt and fix our mistakes from the first game, it felt a lot easier to play the game against them. So it's been new, but I think we're all a really big fan of the change.
Nice.
Okay. My last question. I don't know if Krems has another question after this,
It's all
but
you.
for me, okay. Well, Prismal, I got a chance to see you guys compete over in Challengers Uprising for the first tier 2 of the Proving Ground split. Unfortunately, you guys had an early exit in the semifinals, or was it the semifinals or the quarterfinals matchup against Zeus Gaming? After the exit, what did you take away from that tournament and using it for, I guess, notes and improvement of discussion for the team going into the Academy split?
Yeah, I'd say that tournament kind of opened our eyes to a lot of the mistakes that we were making, and it seemed like we were all aware of what we should be doing, but kind of bringing the pieces together and everyone understanding their own individual role was something that we lacked, and that was pretty clear going into the series that we had against Zoos or like throughout Cup. And so that's something that we've all really been focusing on since that time, and I feel like it's gotten better since that point. I mean, our fights against Dig in the first game today kind of showed like we still are struggling a little bit, but we've been getting a lot better, and that's been our primary focus, and playing in Cup definitely helped us like realize that.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Prismal, we're going to let you go, man. Congratulations on being able to even up the series. Best of luck on your match tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Good stuff from Prismal. And you know, I don't know if you've ever played Leaf Blower. It was just kind of like Prismal's like idle and queue game while he was practicing, and it was something that he and a couple other colleagues of mine were joking about. But now, getting in the reps on the Ziggs in the normal games, it definitely makes sense being able to pull it out in the games today.
Listen, it's there's a normal QMMR, right? Normal games have surprisingly good players. Sometimes you might even just get Smurf Q. And so you're not even actually playing against normal accounts, you're playing against challenger accounts playing normals. And, you know, players like Faker, when they first joined professional League of Legends, just played normals. And in fact, the only reason he played ranked was because he wanted shorter queue times. So there's a lot of value to playing normals. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, no shame on the normal gamers gang. As we're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we're going to start with the first game of our final series of the day with 100 Thieves Academy taking on CLG Academy. Please make sure you come back, and we'll see you then.